Coverage continues for you now. Tom, you have a very special story to share with everyone tonight.
That's right. You know, Colleen, we've moved away from South Bend for a period of time, but when people ask, where are we from, I say South Bend.
Right here.
Right here. I'm a proud Washington High School graduate. Go Panthers. And my South Bend roots run deep. My South Bend roots start over 100 years ago with my grandparents. My grandfather, Edward Coomes, was born in Louisville, went to Cathedral High School in Indianapolis, and came to South Bend, like many have for the first time, to attend the University of Notre Dame in 1927.
I am Marty Gill. I am your aunt.
My grandmother's roots are not as well known.
From what I understand in talking to her adopted sister, Aunt Ethel, somehow they went to the orphanage that your grandmother, my mother, was at in Marion, Indiana. And at that time, she was probably 5 or 6, from what I can remember. And they just went to the orphanage and picked her out and took her home with them. At that time, you didn't have to, go through legal channels or anything. I think they just wanted to get kids into their homes. Her sister Ethel married, so they moved to their house on Notre Dame Avenue.
Marie Skinner lived in a house that's no longer on a much-changed Notre Dame Avenue and attended South Bend Central High School, a building that's now apartments.
There were like 3 girls living in Aunt Ethel's house. She kind of ran a little boarding house. And I know one of the other girls in the house, Betty, met another student at Notre Dame, and I think she might have met your grandfather through Betty. But there was a Notre Dame connection there.
Ed and Marie were married August 7, 1940 at St. Joseph Parish, downtown South Bend. That church was demolished and a newer building built in 1965. My grandfather's career was in academia, a bachelor's in electrical engineering, a master's in math from Notre Dame, and a PhD in physics from MIT. The honeymoon years in South Bend were short. In 1941, the U.S. entered World War II, and by 1942, Ed and Marie and their first daughter Jane moved to Boston for work at MIT for research and technology development for the war effort. At the end of the war, the family moved back to South Bend, but moving back wasn't so easy.
From what I recall, I don't know if there were a lot of houses, or I don't know if they were panicking because they had 3 kids and they needed to get back so he could start working at Notre Dame within a certain amount of time. So they just got the house sight unseen.
The family moved into the house on Johnson Street, grew by 2 more children for a total of 5, all whom attended Holy Cross School and then St. Joseph High School. The new high school recently moved closer to downtown.
I can remember my mom and I always catching the bus and going shopping in downtown South Bend. Our biggest thing was to go to Kresge's and have hot dogs and then buy trinkets or whatever. They had movie theaters down there. I always remember the big clock on I believe it was on the corner of Washington.
My grandfather retired in 1974 from Notre Dame after 42 years of teaching and research, a long resume that included building the first particle accelerator on campus. The most recent version was installed on campus in 2012. Ed and Marie celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary in 1991. Grandpa died in March of '92. Grandma a few years later in 1995. They are lived on by 9 grandchildren and now 8 great-grandchildren.
How cool was that, Tom? Did you have a lot of fun kind of taking a look back and interviewing some family members?
You know, I really knew the stories, but putting on a timeline was great. Thank you, Aunt Marty, for being a great interview.
Great job.
Interesting facts, though. The technology my grandfather worked on in World War II at MIT, radar. He helped develop radar technology, something that I now use today in my job. It's great having that kind of connection. And my grandmother, who was a saint, was also a card shark. She teach me everything from Go Fish to Canasta.